Welcome to the world of four-figure GPUs. But there are many things I still wonder about, like, why is the price of GPUs increasing this generation? Are these high prices here to stay? Will the enthusiast gamer be the big loser in the future? Let's get into it. The first one I want to address is, why the large price hike in the new GPUs? We saw GPU prices return to normal throughout 2022 and GPU mining died overnight on September 15th. Well, from all my research, it's due to three main factors. The first I'll call crypto cover. The second, lack of true competition. And the third, it's part of Jensen's master plan. Let's start with crypto cover. Jensen is using the cover of the crypto mining boom for the price hike since people who bought during the boom will expect to pay high again in their next upgrade. New gamers don't have any historical perspective of prices of new GPUs, and how much money they will lose in the future when they go to sell them. Jensen did the same thing with Turing and raised prices. That was in the last crypto boom when it burst, also in 2018. Back then, people said that since they had a large backlog of Pascal GPUs, that they had to price Turing higher, and once the stock was depleted, then the Turing prices would come down. Turing prices never came down. However, I was not as annoyed with the price hike in Turing since the die size increased significantly since they added all those ray tracing and tensor cores to the silicon. The 2080 Ti at 754mm squared is still the record holder for the largest die size in a gaming GPU. But back then, Nvidia also offered an alternative for gamers with the GTX 1650 and 1660 Supers that did not have RT and tensor cores. With this generation, the die size is getting smaller, and the price is still going up. Even GamersNexus has come to that realization in his latest video. You can see the die size decrease dramatically, while the price increases dramatically. Even in my previous video, I showed the dramatic difference in die size. It's quite something when you actually see the difference. Second is the lack of true competition. For those thinking that competition will bring down prices, well, based on AMD's latest pricing, it is clear Lisa Su has joined Jensen in the new pricing structure that Jensen has established. AMD determines how its GPUs perform against Nvidia's GPUs and then just slots into Nvidia's pricing structure. That's why you will never see AMD launch first. AMD is not concerned with Radeon market share. Dr. Lisa Su has driven Radeon market share down to its lowest level ever. It's clear she is not going to fight Jensen and has taken the approach, if you can't beat 'em, join 'em. And Jensen knows Intel is not a threat this generation, so he will make his move now to raise prices since there is effectively no competition. Finally, it's all part of Jensen's master plan. Jensen told the shareholders that he plans to increase the ASP or average selling price of GPUs, and to do so, he will need to greatly increase the price of GPUs across the entire stack. He is targeting to double the average selling price of GPUs from $300 before the pandemic to $600 or more after the pandemic. If you want to learn more about the details of what he told his shareholders, I covered it in great detail in this video, link above. Because of this, it will cost enthusiasts big money for the privilege of gaming at 4K in future generations. We have yet to live through a cycle where the impact of paying four figures for a GPU is felt by the enthusiast gamer. To get an idea of what that will be like, let's look at what almost happened to the first four-figure gaming GPU. The 2080 Ti was the first gamer GPU where people paid $1,200, but then the value dropped to $500 once the 3070 was announced. That's a loss of $700 in one generation, and something I covered in my video on the Ampere announcement. But that was short-lived. Once the 3080 launched with no availability, the used prices of the 2080 Ti drifted upward as it was the beginning of the crypto mining boom. So the pain wasn't really felt by many of the 2080 Ti owners. And people who bought the 3080 Ti, 3090, and 3090 Ti for well over $1,000 did see the large drops in used values. However, most of those people crypto mined and made money with their GPU, so most owners during this generation don't really care. Recently, I purchased a 3090 and bought it from a gamer who bought this GPU to play Elden Ring. He purchased the GPU in January of 2022 at the peak of the GPU prices, and he bought the GPU for $2,300. 10 months later, 3090 Ti's could be had for as cheap as $650. That's a loss of over $1,600. And even without the mining boom, the MSRP of this Asus ROG Strix GPU, considered to be among the best for overclocking, was $1,800. Currently on the used market, a larger percentage of 3090 used sales are closer to around $800. So in regular times, the $1,800 GPU price dropped to $800. That is a loss of $1,000 just because the next generation launched. Gamers who are purchasing the 4080 and 4090 are paying four figures, and they don't have crypto mining to pay for their GPU. They will suffer the full loss just like the guy I bought my 3090 from. How much will the enthusiast lose? You can expect the loss on the 4080 to be similar what the 2080 Ti would have been if the crypto boom didn't occur, and that was $700. The 4090 will likely drop $1,000 since you will not likely see any more 4090s sold at MSRP again. That will add up every generation to unprecedented amounts of money. In sharp contrast, this is nowhere near what it used to cost to be an enthusiast. To be an enthusiast in the past did not involve losing large amounts of money every generation. As an example, if you purchased a 780 Ti for $650, then its resale value would drop to GTX 970 levels since the performance was similar, and that was $330. So you would lose $320 when you sold your 780 Ti. So you sell your old card, add $320, and you could buy the 980 Ti for $650. It essentially cost you $320 to upgrade to the next generation to have the highest level of gaming GPU. Then the 980 Ti would have its resale value drop to GTX 1070 levels, and a 1070 sold for $380. So you would sell your 980 Ti for around $380 and then add another $320 again to fund the purchase of your next GPU. So it would cost you $320 again to have the highest level gaming GPU in the 1080 Ti for the next generation. And the 1080 Ti at $699 would drop to, wait, what? 2080 performance levels at $699? Yes, Turing was a reset in the pricing structure. Most people who bought a 1080 Ti skipped Turing completely. Keeping your 1080 Ti until Ampere launched, the value dropped to 3060 levels of performance with the resale value around $330. You could then add 370 and then purchase an RTX 3080 since the 3090 made no sense at $1,500. So it cost you $370 over 2 generations and you were gaming at high levels of performance. So from the 780 Ti that released in November 2013 to the 3080 which launched in September of 2020, over that 7-year period it cost you $336 per generation to have among the highest levels of performance. And you could do the same exercise for the 80 series and it would cost you an average of $311. Now let's compare the cost of what it was like to be an enthusiast before and what it will be like to be an enthusiast in the future. Before, the 80 series cost an average of $311 to upgrade every generation. After, the 80 series will cost an average of $700 to upgrade every generation. That's a more than doubling in cost. Going up even higher, before, the 80 Ti series cost an average of $336 to upgrade every generation. After, the 90 series will cost an average of $1,000 to upgrade every generation. Over 3 generations, the 80 series cost was $930. In the future, over 3 generations, it will cost $2,100. That's an increase of almost $1,200. Going even higher, over 3 generations, the 80 Ti series cost just over $1,000. Now, over 3 generations, it will cost $3,000. That's an increase of almost $2,000. That difference will buy you a lot of games to add to your library. It'll buy a nice OLED TV. It'll fund a Steam Deck. It'll fund other hardware upgrades. It'll fund a nice vacation. Heck, you could even invest that money. What it means is that 4-figure GPUs will lead to 4-figure financial losses for you. You'll have to figure out for yourself if you want to lose that much each and every generation for an 80 series and above GPU. But is it over? Are higher prices really here to stay? One comment left on my last video really hit home. JewelBell5 simply wrote, "Complain all you want, but people are paying the given prices, so either pay up, shop used, or find another hobby." And when you look at the stock available of newly released GPUs, you just might conclude that's true, that people are paying the given prices. If you go to Newegg and look for the RTX 4090 that was launched back on October 12th, you find that Newegg does not have any in stock. and people conclude that it is sold out and therefore it must be in high demand. It is sold out at retailers at MSRP prices. However, if you open up the search beyond Newegg stock, then you find plenty of 4090s available by third-party sellers. These are effectively scalpers. As soon as Newegg has any stock, they get purchased by bots just like during the crypto mining boom, and they turn around and they sell the GPUs with a huge markup. So the 4090 GPUs that are under $2,000 are all out of stock, while those above $2,000 are in stock. I am sure Jensen and his minions are collecting all of this data and will be adjusting the price of the 5090 closer to the $2,000 price point next time. GamersNexus just made an excellent video on the 4080 pricing. Finally, a major tech channel covering the ridiculous pricing in great detail. I highly recommend you watch that video, link in the description below. But I do wonder how many people are buying these GPUs versus how many GPUs are available on the market. Could it be that supply is so low that it appears as if the demand is high, and that appearance of high demand feeds the FOMO? NVIDIA is rumored to have made 160,000 4080 and 4090s for launch. Even if they finish out the quarter with 300,000 units, that is not a lot of GPUs. NVIDIA sold 5.9 million GPUs last quarter, of which we know from John Petty Research, 44% of them to be high-end GPUs. 44% of 5.9 million is 2.6 million GPUs. We've only seen maybe 300,000 or 0.3 million high-end GPUs. Where are the other 2.3 million high-end GPUs for this quarter? So the fact that they are sold out at retail makes sense since NVIDIA has not supplied that many, and that fosters a great environment for scalping and for feeding FOMO. But even with that little amount of production of 4080 and 4090s, you can still buy one today if you are willing to pay ransom prices from third-party scalpers, stores. How long do you think Jensen will be able to supply these high-end level GPUs on a slow drip into the market? This slow trickle amount can't last forever. He will eventually have to make more and have them available at reasonable prices. Jensen needs a wake-up call. As Steve at GamersNexus once said, "The mining thing is over, it's Dunsky." Jensen needs to hear it loud and clear. Someone needs to send Jensen a little note. I would love to see Steve send Jensen a little memo. Something like,
Jensen Huang, it's Dunsky. The mining thing's over. It's Dunsky. It's Dunsky. It's Dunsky.
And have it signed, your pals, Steve and the enthusiast community. Everyone needs to tell Jensen it's Dunsky. If you think the RTX prices are too high, comment below and on that GN video with Jensen, it's Dunsky. In fact, comment on any video with an overpriced RTX 40 series GPU with Jensen, it's Dunsky. Maybe together we can start the Dunsky movement. And again, I encourage you to watch and comment on that GN video. Thank you all so very much for watching. Stay safe, and I will see you in the next one.